Namaste. Good morning to all. This is Manjushri Shah, Convener of Metering India 2017. It is indeed a proud privilege and a great joy for me to welcome you all to this largest congregation of energy metering ecosystem, Metering India 2017 towards smart and sustainable utilities. I'm delighted to invite our inaugural panelists on the dais. I would request Mr. Jitendra Agarwal, Chairman IEEMA Meter Division, to welcome our Chief Guest, His Excellency Mr. VPS Badnore, Governor of Punjab and Administrator of Chandigarh UT. I would now like to invite Shri R.K. Verma ji, Chairman CEA, as our guest of honor on the dais. I would request Mr. Sunil Misra, DG IEEMA, to welcome Mr. Verma. I would request Mr. Vishnu Agarwal, Vice President IEEMA, to welcome Mr. Richard Schomberg, IEC Ambassador for Smart Energy and Chairman for IEC Smart Energy System Committee, and our keynote speaker for today. I request our Chief Guest, His Excellency Mr. VPS Badnore, to light the lamp and inaugurate the conference. Request all other members on the dais to join Mr. Badnore. Thanks to all the dignitaries. This technical seminar has touched the lives of around 500 delegates, largest for any technical seminar under IEEMA banner, comprising of organizing committee members, speakers, sponsors, session chairs, panelists, and delegates, which include state power distribution utilities, system integrators, central agencies, consultants, test labs, education institutions. We have total 150 plus organizations participating in this event, out of which around 40 are state distribution utilities and agencies. Our organizing committee is a combination of experts from industry, central agencies, public and private distribution companies, the World Bank, test labs, and other major stakeholders of the ecosystem. It was a tough challenge to have limited 21 shortlisted papers out of total 70 papers received. Considering our vision of smartness and sustainability as a responsible event, we have leveraged electronic media to propagate the event. Few first in this direction were the short film made on Metering India 2017 and usage of Kindle to view the preloaded seminar papers to avoid distribution of paper printed stationery. Moving further, I invite Mr. Jitendra Agarwal, Chairman Meter Division, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Manju. Honorable Chief Guest, Badnore Sahab, Shri Verma ji, Mr. Richard Schomberg, dignitaries on the dais, a very good morning, session conveners, distinguished guests, members of the metering industry, delegates, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. A very good morning, a very good sunny morning rather, and a warm welcome on behalf of IEEMA to this 7th edition of Metering India, an international seminar organized by IEEMA Meter Division. Before coming here, I asked my wife in the morning, should I be talking technical? Then she said, come on. Do you think you are technical at all? You don't know how to use computer properly. So I won't be talking anything technical. With all you technology savvy people, I'll be talking something which is more on a different note. So as an obedient husband, I'll listen to her. Metering India has become the flagship event of IEEMA, and I'm proud to say it has now become the most prestigious event, and I'm so gladly got to know that we had to stop the registration yesterday. This is the seminar where we had to say finally we are full. Thank you everybody, thank you very much. As told by Manju, organizing committee comprises of different people from the different industry. And they have really put in a lot of efforts. And when I say a lot of efforts, I really mean it. Just imagine 60 plus papers, but we could select only 21. But as told by Manju also, 21 papers are selected, but all these papers are very good and they have been put in the Kindle. And to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time a Kindle has been the part of the delegate kit. It has two advantages. When you got bored, people like me, when they get bored of reading so much of technological stuff, you can always download some novels and comics in the Kindle. That will be helpful, and you will get entertained also. Coming to organizers, this time we have 23 sponsors from the industry, from semiconductor industry. From the bottom of my heart, I thank each one of you. Because of your support, these kind of seminars are possible. In metering division of IEEMA, we have around 50 members. And we produce 25 million plus meters annually. What a staggering number. And the best part is all these are end-to-end activity from design, development, production, testing. Everything is done in-house. Everything is done in India. We are truly 100% made in India. Let me repeat, friends, we are 2 notch above Make in India dream of this country. We are 100% truly made in India. And this is not recent. We are doing this from last 20 years, and I am confident we will continue to do this. Let me narrate a good incident with all of you. Few days back, one of my colleagues who is also sitting here shared a story with me that, do you find any electronic product truly made in India in your house? I went 2 days back when I was at home, I asked my family, let us search a truly electronic made in India product, truly electronic made in India product in our house. To my utmost surprise, except that electricity meter, which is made by all of us, was hanging outside my house, is a truly electronic made in India product. Pride to the industry. Utilities today are adopting new technologies, coming to some technological stuff. This was given to me in writing by Manju, and she said, you have to speak this. So I have to. Utilities today are adopting new technologies like prepayment meters, smart meters with two-way communication, AMI solutions. I remember a few years back, there were only 3 or 4 utilities going for these latest technologies. But now almost 15 plus utilities are already going for these kind of latest technologies, helping the overall scenario of power distribution sector. If you will see one state in Northeast, they have completely changed from normal meters to prepayment meters. It's a success story which was shared in Metering India 2015. So this shows that with the use of latest technologies, it will only help the power distribution sector. I would like to assure each one of you here that industry will leave no stone unturned to enable and support our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's vision of providing 24/7 electricity affordable electricity to all. Our Honorable Power Minister Shri Piyush Goyal also shared his vision on the eve of this year's budget, wherein he wanted power sector to be self-sufficient and not depend fully on government aid. Smart meters, the metering fraternity have to play a vital role, big role into this. And let me assure you, sir, the industry will support technically, commercially to ensure this dream of yours. So from this dais, I'm ensuring our Honorable Prime Minister and the Power Minister that we all will support your vision full-heartedly. Without taking much of your time, I once again welcome everyone and wish that the next 2 days are very fruitful, participative with key takeaways. Before thanking all of you, I really want to thank this gentleman or the lady, I really don't know, who has given this beautiful word smart to our meters. Since childhood, I always thought only my mother thinks I'm smart, my father thinks I'm smart, maybe my brothers think I'm smart, but now I'm part of a smart meter manufacturing company. So for all the best reasons in the world, I'll be smart for my life. And this applies to all of you. So thank you for giving this word smart to our meters, for making us, all of us smart. Thank you everybody. Have a great day. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Harish Agarwal, Vice President IEEMA, to deliver his Vice Presidential address.
Before starting, I'll tell our chairman that smart is now becoming increasingly intelligent as well. His Excellency, the smart is becoming increasingly intelligent as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. His Excellency Honorable Governor, Punjab Shri VP Singh ji Badnore, Shri R.K. Verma ji Chairperson CEA, Ms. Ritu Maheshwari CEO-RECTPCL, a very warm and special welcome to Mr. Schomberg, Chairman, Singh Smart Energy IC, my colleagues, Shri Jitendra Agarwal, Chairman, IEEMA Meter Division, all delegates, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I must congratulate Jitendra and Metering India team, particularly Convener, Ms. Manjushri, for putting together such a wonderful seminar and conference. I mean, it's 500 plus delegates, and we had to stop the registration. Truly marvelous feat. It's probably becoming the biggest brand of IEEMA after Electrama, and I'm sure it will move from strength to strength. And as Jitendra pointed out just now, that metering in India is true and living example of made in India, where the product is completely indigenous. It's extremely gratifying to note this. Indian power sector is undergoing a significant change that has redefined the industry outlook. Sustained economic growth continues to drive electricity demand in India. The Government of India's focus on attaining power for all has accelerated capacity addition in the country. The total installed capacity of power stations in India stand at 315,426.32 megawatt, 315 gigawatt till February 2017. Power Ministry has set a target of 1,229.4 billion units. Very precise figure, somebody must have worked very hard. Of electricity to be generated in the financial year 17-18, which is 15 billion units higher than the target set for 16-17. The Indian power sector has an investment potential of 15 trillion, that is $225 billion US for next 4-5 years, thereby providing huge opportunities in power generation, distribution, transmission, equipment. The government's immediate goal is to generate 2 trillion units, kilowatt hours of energy by 2019. This means doubling the current production capacity to provide 24/7 electricity for residential, industrial, commercial and agricultural users. India is currently witnessing a revolution in the field of energy metering, where advanced products are fast replacing the conventional ones. Extensive power capacity augmentation and improvement of electrical grid networks are supporting the growth of this industry. The current size of energy metering market is approximately 2,200 crores and is expected to grow at compounded annual growth rate of 8 to 10% over the next 4-5 years. According to a recent industry report, distribution utilities globally are expected to spend 375 billion in smart grid technologies by 2030, where India is estimated to install 130 million smart meters by 2021. No doubt intelligent smart meters, both intelligent and smart, Jitendra, meters are going to be the trend in future, though the progress in India may not be as rapid as one would like it to be. During Intellect 2017, Shri Piyush Goyal pitched for the wider use of smart electricity meters and urged the electrical equipment industry to come forward with innovations that suit domestic consumers as the country strives to use energy efficiently. The smart meter can indeed be a game changer when it comes to planning the electricity sector in the long run. Just one point, if I may add, I was there when he was addressing this. He gave a figure of something like 300 million meters to be installed by 2025. And if I just put the current production figure as given by Jitendra just now, it would conservatively mean that industry will have to become 5 times of what it is to meet this demand. Grid modernization is no longer a luxury, but a necessity. In my opinion, there are two big drivers for grid modernization. In line with government's vision of making 24/7 power available for all and to give access to electricity to all, government is adding new connections at a humongous pace like never before. This imposes a challenge on infrastructure which is involved in supporting the quality and affordable power to all. Secondly, the penetration of renewables is increasing every day. Cumulative target of 175 gigawatt has been declared for year 2022. These drivers necessitate smart technologies to be implemented for the sake of sustaining the change. We are on the cusp of another revolution, a digital revolution. The way in which we are conducting business today has drastically changed from the way we used to do 5 decades back. Internet of Things and convergence of technologies is giving rise to new business models. Technologies are touching our lives like never before. In distribution utilities, smart technology should be implemented with smart business processes to get true benefit out of this technological leap and reach new levels of consumer satisfaction. Our consumer deserves world-class services. We would like to thrust the importance of cost and quality-based procurement processes of utilities. This would not only improve the operational efficiency of the utilities, but also take them towards sustainability in the long run. We would require smarter regulatory and policy framework to address the dynamic challenges posed by the smart grid ecosystem. On governance, we have witnessed significant changes in the recent years, moving towards responsible, responsive and transparent approach. The topmost leadership of the country, under the leadership of Shri Narendra Modi ji, has a dream, a vision and a surprising amount of energy to push the change. Since we have been working closely with the central government and institutions, the changes down the line is also quite visible. And I hope this change in attitude, mindset and approach is translated into real action and delivery. We see a connected future which is devoid of silos in various government departments. We are hopeful that our era will be remembered as the era of technology enablers, which address the dimension of sustainability to the glamour called smartness. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Before moving further, I would like to welcome Ritu Maheshwari Madam, Executive Director T&D REC Limited and Chief Executive Officer of RECTPCL. I request Mr. Harish Agarwal to welcome Madam. Let's put our hands together. Next speaker is currently IEC Ambassador for Smart Energy, Chairman of IEC Smart Energy System Committee, and of IEC PC 118 Smart Grid User Interface. He is also Vice President Standardization at the EDF. Recipient of the IEC 2011 Lord Kelvin Award. He has designed billion-dollar complex systems for critical operations. He is currently in charge of developing the strategy and coordinating the smart energy standardization activities across EDF Group. Please put your hands together for Mr. Richard Schomberg to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those kind words. His Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting me. It's a great honor being here with you today. And of course, I am representing IEC here in this conference, and for full disclosure, as it has been said, I am an employee of a utility, a large utility. So I will share with you my perspective from a large buyer, a very large buyer. And today the topic is really how to move forward, right, with smarter infrastructure, smarter energy system towards sustainability. So first, how do we get the smartness? Okay, a lot of people would say, you know what, we get smarter infrastructures by adding massively ICT. That's fantastic, that's the revolution. Okay, but I would like to draw your attention on one example to show that the smartness can be simply by design. And I'm just using one example. It's the example of France, where it was decided in the 70s for energy independence to start deploying nuclear reactors. And a fleet of 58 nuclear reactors has been put in service, which is delivering 80% of the electricity in this, I would say, relatively small country compared to India. But the trick is that you cannot switch on and off nuclear reactors very quickly. So how do you do with such fleet of base generation to actually cope with the nightly reduction of load? And this is where, at that time, when it was decided to build a fleet of nuclear reactors, it was decided to deploy meters. Meters fitted with a very special feature, which is triggering under control of the utility, triggering at night thermal storage of the electricity generated by about 8 nuclear reactors out of the fleet of 58. 8 nuclear reactors every night. They are storing their electricity in 13 million electric water heaters throughout the country. So this is an example where you see the thinking was really considering the entire chain from end to end, looking at the purpose more than at the specific technical considerations for the meters. And what's interesting to note is this has been on for 45 years, and when it started with electromechanical meters that were able to actually receive a signal and trigger those electric water heaters. So my strong message here is not to advertise for this specific achievement or just say, you know what, this is the way to do it. No, the message here is, you know what, it's not just about technology. We should not be blurred by what ICT is promising. First thing is to decide of some goals and things you want to achieve. Then there are ways to brainstorm around this and to actually really think across the chain from end to end, which some people would say, hey, this is just system engineering. Yes, it can be very simple and pragmatic. What I described is very simple and pragmatic. But this required actually having people representing all the stakeholders sitting at the same table and leadership from the government to stand up and say, you know what, let's actually get together and make it work. So I take a lot of time on this example because I think throughout the world I see too much things going on blurred by the technology. So having said that, actually how the utilities can benefit from smarter infrastructures? Well, you see, here is a simple drawing, a simple model, saying that first thing first. You see, we should first, you see this pyramid, where we should first, for utilities, having modernized infrastructures and just start improving operations. When you've done that, then you can consider enhancing efficiency and cost savings. And after that, of course, you can dream of new business models, business transformation, and moving towards new services to actually engage customers, more customer-centric services. And I will, you see, the entire presentation is organized to visit those 3 floors of the pyramid. So let's get started. I have selected a couple of examples on each of the floors of this pyramid. So, first floor, modernizing infrastructure, improving operations. Well, most of the time, a smart metering infrastructure, very strong smart metering infrastructure with an advanced data management system is the fundamental move. It is really the first stone for a strong smart energy infrastructure. And really, we can start to grab some value from flexibility in customer engagement through this strong smart meter infrastructure. And this is enabling the full value that utilities can get from digitalization and decentralization. But you see, in this simple drawing, you see, the meter is sitting at the crossroads of everything. And this is really very critical because the meter is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of complexity. So focusing the attention just to the meter, it might not be just the only thing to do. And in fact, what the investors and decision makers are looking for, well, it's very simple. The utilities, to be sustainable, need to procure very large number of equipments. But it's not any type of equipment. It's equipment that are supposed to last, to sustain, to be maintained, maybe 20, 40 years in the field, not just the meters. So this is where it becomes very subtle. And I request all your attention because there are subtleties here where we want to procure as utilities very large number of those equipment. So, and let me give just one example. For example, the Enedis, which is the DSO company within EDF Group. We procure 3 billion euros every year as business as usual, just to maintain the performance. So it gives an idea of the magnitude. And of course, in India, it might be much more. So if you want to procure a very large number of equipment, the simplest thing to do is you issue an RFP, and the utility could be tempted to award the contract to the cheapest bidder. That's fantastic. A very large contract to the cheapest bidder. So this bidder is really happy. He's got a great contract, but all the others might dry out, even disappear, and the utility starts to depend on that one awarded contract. And what happens is 10 years down the road, very often, then the happy vendor comes back to the utility saying, you know what, actually you're the only one who's been procuring this specific technology. So if you want to keep it up and running, you might consider contracting for maintenance now. And you didn't think of at the beginning, but now that's the story. So definitely for utilities procuring large number of equipment to sustain a long time, the best move is to actually make sure you procure equipment from multiple vendors. And this is where it gets tricky. How can you procure equipment from multiple vendors so that in the field truck you might have meters coming from different vendors, and the field force would grab any of those meters and they just fit those meters on the wall and it works? How do you do that? So this is where you need to come up as a utility with a specification that is detailed enough to be able to certify this interchangeability of the meters, but not too detailed to leave some freedom, some space for innovation and allowing competition between the multiple vendors, so to improve performance and cost. So it's very tricky to actually find out the right level of specification. It's very difficult. There is a lot of know-how on how to do that, but this is a well-kept secret of the successful utilities who've been able to actually make sure that they are not depending on one specific vendor. And of course, when we discuss about meters and designing all those architecture, you see, definitely using standards and possibly international standards would allow to pre-resolve the very high complexity of all of this. And when people are talking about meters, of course, communication technologies is a very important part of the discussion, where I give you an example of how to tackle the communication technology question, where the key here is to make sure that you have a layered approach, where at each layer you might choose different bricks that might evolve over time. And here I give an example where at the bottom of this stack you might choose actually two excellent technologies, one wireless, one PLC, that basically makes a lot of sense for meters. And then on top of that, people now, they choose IPv6, which is really the pervasive transport layer. And on top of that, people are choosing a data model. And there are international standards for data models suited for metering and interacting with customers, like a smart energy profile, like DLMS COSM for metering, like, well, in Japan they are choosing Econet, for example. So the message here is really, for system engineering and success here, is to divide to conquer, which means really organizing things in a way that you can manage and you can actually put in place conditions that you will be able to sustain and evolve over time. Now, I would like to share with you a couple of lessons or success factors from very large meter deployment. And here I'm reusing one slide from a colleague of mine, a VP from Enedis, who is deploying 35 million meters currently. So it's an eye chart. I'm not going to comment all those success factors, but I want to draw your attention to the fact that in the success factors, actually, you have a lot of considerations for management, for human resources, for finance, for contracting, and actually very little technical things. I just want to focus on two messages, key messages, which is that it's really when you start to deploy at a very large scale that there are a few things you discover only at that point, which very often can be really too late. What do you discover? It's really the scalability of what you've been designing, and something else you might know that, which is simply the sourcing of electronic components. Because even though you contract for the equipments, Now the manufacturers might be competing to access the exact same electronic components on the market. And this is absolutely incredible nowadays. You see, we're dreaming about ICT, but the sourcing of key electronic components is a real issue when you start to deploy. And I'm talking just about the 35 million meters deployment. I'm not talking about 300 million. Okay, so of course, at the first floor of the pyramid, you see, modernizing infrastructure. I took especially metering examples. There are other things that could be said for distribution automation, but I leave it here because it's a metering 2017 conference. Now, the second floor, you see, enhancing efficiency and cost savings. Here also, we can be extremely pragmatic. Where should we focus the efforts and attention? Of course, on the weakest links and on equipments or parts that might have most impact to the overall performance of the electric system. And of course, you immediately think about the transformers. And I'm giving here just an example where, of course, in India, you didn't wait for this conference to do things, and you already did a lot of work about issuing some Indian standards for transformers to actually allow improving by 20% the efficiency of transformers. But what I want to highlight here is now that with IoT technology, it's very easy to add a huge number of sensors any time, you see, all around transformers, new transformers, but also you can equip old transformers. And well, the cost of those sensors is so low today that it's almost nothing compared to the 2 lakh rupees cost of a transformer. But what this is allowing is really to monitor what's going on, to monitor the health of the transformer, and to start preventing. It's like when you go to the cardiologist, you see, to check up that everything is fine. And very often, you see, there are very low trends that can be detected very early, and that would allow you to first run some predictive maintenance, but also you can start knowing more about transformers and actually being able also to change the way the network is operated to make sure that the best use of the existing assets and their current capability are actually put to work. So I stop here. It's really just an example, you see, where adding IoT analytics, you can do really miracles. And of course, on a larger scale, you see now you can have a geospatial and visual analytics software that would provide common operational views across an organization to improve asset planning and maintenance practices and to allow collaborate responding to emergency, for example, and understand more readily the real-time impact of weather events or fire. So this is a trend going on, and actually this is opening the way to things that are not just about electricity. You see, we are opening the way to the smart cities, where that kind of approach allows to optimize operations of the city, combining views and information from many different verticals of the smart city. Now let's have a look to the third floor, and that's the last floor of the pyramid I proposed at the beginning. And the last floor is really what about business transformation? Are we going to see really fantastic things? Well, the first example I want to give is something that might be very relevant for India, where 400 million people might not have access to electricity, which is this example of solar home systems. You see, there are many companies now proposing some solar home systems kit. It's basically a PV panel, battery, and a special meter. That is the key of the business model. So, in that example, you see, it seems that it's really affordable, and can be deployed. So the question is really, is it becoming a threat for utilities? Or actually, wouldn't be this an opportunity for utilities to actually start running this business? Because the utility would have the size of massification for this business. And by the way, those citizens can become the customers of tomorrow of a highly decentralized grid. So that's one example. I'm going to go fast on the second example that you might all know, which is about the smart street lighting. The key is it pays for itself thanks to the energy efficiency of LED technology. And then you can equip the lamppost, which are strategic assets, with a lot of sensors and telecommunication equipment. And then you can imagine a lot of new business models in so-called smart cities. And of course, on top of this infrastructure, you can have a platform for application to actually make sure you can share the data and monetize the data. But I want to come to a very important thing, which is, and this is something I've seen throughout the world, there is a common debate, which is who gets the fruits of an investment. You see, we are saying, hey, utilities should invest. Okay, they invest, but who gets the fruits of the investment? And here, I'm referring, so it might be on my chart, but I'm going to just summarize the study. A study that was published by Cisco showing a model of 12 investments on the distribution system made by a utility for $27 million. That would procure in 64 billion benefits. So it's a net value of 37 billion. And those 37 billion, how do they are shared across the actors? Actually, what the study is showing is that the generation is losing 33 billion, as the retail 1 billion, T&D is gaining 15 billion because there are less losses. The customers are reaping 40 billion value from this investment. That's the good news. But the big surprise is that there are 16 billion that are not affected to any player because they correspond to things that might not be monetized at that point in time on the market. And this is where the most valuable player can grab this. And if utilities don't move and are not agile enough, this will be grabbed by new entrants. And this is also a critical point, you see, that smart grid, smart energy can deploy only if the one who invests can get a fair share of the fruits and that we don't leave free riders. Now, the last point I want to make, because there is also throughout the world a lot of people requesting new services, new value in smart cities. We have to keep in mind now that utilities should not just be run and managed by trying to be just on the economies of scale. Now it's about economies of scope, decentralization. And the value of the network is really the square grows as a square of the number of the nodes. And that's my very last example where a lot of people are asking more and more in the cities for smart services for the citizens. And this is great, this is cool. And this is the example of connected trash cans that have been deployed in London just before the Summer Olympics of 2012. But can this be accepted by all the citizens? And can the value of a service be really zero? What happened is that those trash cans have been fitted with capability to track the ID of smartphones of the daily commuters passing by. And these trash cans were able to detect the speed and the fact that a passerby was stopping by the window of a store, how long it was stopping by the window of a store, and when the trash can could detect this commuter again, they would display on the trash can advertisement, targeted advertisement. That was 2012. 2013, the City of London requested to just remove this. And definitely, if it is free, you're probably the product. And we need to keep in mind that privacy and cybersecurity need also to be designed very early on. This is not a feature you can add after the fact. As a conclusion, simply the sustainability requires independence from any technology and any vendor. And this is really the win-win, the saddle win-win between the large buyers and the community of vendors. System approach is necessary. Standardization is the key to pre-resolve extreme complexity. And definitely the harmonization of specification for interoperability across the nation like India can enable the make in India, design in India, and innovate in India. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Mr. Richard. Our special guest, Madam Ritu Maheshwari, is presently Executive Director T&D at REC Limited and Chief Executive Officer of RECTPCL. An electrical engineer and an IS officer, 2003 batch UP cadre, she brings in a diverse experience of working in various capacities across various sectors in the government. She was also the Managing Director of CISCO in 2011 and 12. I request Madam Ritu to deliver her special address.
His Excellency, Governor of Punjab, dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My sincere thanks to IEEMA, especially the metering division, for having invited me here. It's a wonderful conference and a wonderful platform where all can get together and think forward as to what ways the power sector of the country is progressing, how metering is crucial to that, and how we all as stakeholders can contribute in that. The country's power sector is witnessing a huge transformation, and we can very well acknowledge the facts. 3 years back, India was a power deficit nation. Today, we are on the verge of exporting power across our borders. This is one huge transformation which our country has witnessed in the past 2-3 years. After being generated, the power is being transmitted across almost now 4 lakh circuit kilometers of transmission lines and almost 8 lakh MVAs of transformation capacity across the nation, generated and transmitted across 5 regional grids connected to a national grid. So these figures, whether it be of generation or of transformation capacity in the country, are one of the highest in the world. So tremendous work has been done, and if we see the way renewable energy has progressed and the way the targets have been set in the country to reach a capacity of 175 gigawatt by 2022. So huge potential is there for everyone, not only for the government, but also for the private players to deliver and to seize the opportunities. These times are very crucial in one more way. Never before earlier, the power sector of the country has seen so much of transparency, so much of accountability for everyone, with every information being available to everyone in the public domain. With host of mobile applications, web platforms being available in the public platform, so we can find out where power is available, at what price, in which states, through apps like Vidyut Prava. We can keep a track of the transformation capacity across the country through apps like Tarang. We can track the way villages are being electrified through apps like Garv. We can see how many outages are there in which part of the country, and we can be informed of the power outages through apps like Urja Mitra. We can see the way energy is being utilized efficiently by apps like Ujala. So it's an end-to-end transformation being supplemented not only by infrastructure upgradation, but also by technological upgradation. Distribution, however, has always been the weakest link in the entire power sector value chain. This government itself, in the last 3 years, has again introduced a lot of schemes, whether it be the Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Yojana for upgradation of the rural infrastructure, or the IPDA scheme for upgradation of the urban infrastructure, and most important, the UDAY scheme for transformation for financial restructuring of distribution companies. The results are visible to all. Many companies have started showing positive results. There has been reduction in losses. There have been improvements in operational efficiencies. As many as 13 DISCOMs in the past 9 months have reported a reduction in the losses. The debt in these companies, which was outstanding at almost 4 lakh crores, almost 2.5 lakh crores of the debt has been converted into low-cost debt and has been taken off the books of DISCOMs. The key takeaway is that power is there, available in the country. The transformation capacity is there to transmit the generated power. The DISCOMs have the wherewithal to supply, to distribute this kind of power which is being generated. But where are the gaps? There are still many gaps. We started 2 years back with almost 18,000 unelectrified villages in the country. Today, almost 13,000 of the villages have also been electrified. But still, there are almost 5 crore households in the country which do not have access to electricity, which still stand unelectrified, which still stand unmetered. I would say metering, reaching out to consumer households, is one of the most important links which is still missing in the entire value chain. If we see the mobile revolution, it has seen a tremendous growth. There were times in mid-90s and end of 90s by 2000 when mobile was not there with everyone and when smart mobiles were not there. If we see it today and even 3-4 years back, there has been a tremendous revolution. In fact, electricity and mobile, today I would say they are almost on the same platform. If electricity is not there, we really struggle that why light is not there. At the same time, if our mobile gets disconnected even for an hour, we are really left stranded without use of mobile, without use of communication. But there are contradictions. The mobile technology, if we see, it is completely, even if it is postpaid, there are prepaid technologies, there is a postpaid technologies, but consumers have learnt how to pay and use the technology. However, if we see electricity, still there are consumers who are using electricity without paying, and there are still households which are unmetered. That is why I say the metering remains a crucial gap. And we as various stakeholders, and especially the delegates here who are involved somehow in the manufacturing of this crucial link, they have to really take a look at what is missing, because government can provide the path, government can provide a lead, but the solutions, the innovative designs have to come from the manufacturers. We really have to take a stock of what have been the gaps. Why after so many years of independence, when our country is matching growth figures of the developed economies, when our country's power generation capacity is really growing at a large pace, why this gap still exists? Do we really need some kind of solutions which are not only cost effective, are also more acceptable to consumers, that the consumers have a demand for metering at their premises? We introduced the prepaid smart metering model. It has not been really a lot of success. Our ministry, our Honorable Power Minister has been talking of installation of almost 3.5 crore smart meters across the country. Today we are just at almost 2.5 lakhs. There is a huge gap. Have we as industry, have we as government really taken a look at it, where we can bridge the gap? What is it the consumers are looking at? Is there a way we can cut down the costs? So I would say that this platform could be a very important platform to discuss on all these issues, because this is one crucial component which is going to transform not only the Indian power sector, not only the Indian power sector industry, but also the lives of the consumers. The way mobile revolution has transformed the life of each and every one of us. I sincerely believe that metering revolution, especially the smart metering revolution, can really transform the lives of all Indians and especially the Indian power sector. With these words, thank you once again for having invited me here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritu ma'am, for your insightful address. Our guest of honor, Shri Verma, is a power sector veteran. He started his career with BHEL and has been working with Central Electricity Authority for last more than 35 years. He has varied experience in different areas of power sector, mainly power system planning, grid operations, and distribution. Shri Verma has been associated with various committees, including review of functional requirements specifications of single-phase smart meters, development of Indian Electricity Grid Code, Indian Electricity Act, development and formulation of various schemes of government, and formulation of regulations by CEA on installation and operation of energy meters, to state a few. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Shri R.K. Verma to deliver his address as guest of honor.
Adharaniya His Excellency, the Governor of Punjab, the other dignitaries sitting on the dais, delegates from all across the country, and the industry, the fraternity, a good morning to all of you. It is a really great occasion that the IEEMA has taken initiative for this 7th edition of Metering India. I was just going through the papers of the conference, and it reads that it has completed 69 years of IEEMA formation. Am I correct, Mr. Misra? Something like that? Okay. And so I take this opportunity to congratulate IEEMA for organizing this Metering India. There have been very good deliberations in the past also. And when I was listening to Richard, then the word smart actually, I was just recollecting my memories that it took time for us to define what is smart. In fact, it took time to define what is a smartness in technology. What is a smart meter? And there was a lot of deliberation that took place between CEA and other stakeholders to define and come up with the definition of a smartness of a meter. And then subsequently the other actions in relation to formulation of the standards of a smart meter, advanced metering infrastructure document, and now that all the rules of the game are set, we are ready with all documentation, we are ready with everything, then the progress is really dismal. The installation of smart meters has not really come the way we wanted. It has not really come the way, it has not really developed the way we had thought of. It is a very slow progress. I think this is high time that we must sit together and deliberate on the issue as to why it is not taking up the way we wanted. What are the reasons for the slow progress of installation of smart meters? The drivers we thought in the beginning, I think we need to have again a look on the drivers. What are the drivers for changing of technology? And one of the foremost thing is that the meter otherwise, which we have a static meter, the cost of that static meter is hardly 600, 700 rupees, less than 1000 rupees. Whereas the cost of the smart metering solutions that we envisage as per the AMI document is still very high. The utilities do not really see it as a good business proposition to make an investment. I think this is time that we should develop some kind of sustainable business models like the ones we thought of in terms of Ujala when we rolled out the LED bulbs, and that has been a grand success. So I think there is a need that we must think in terms of sustainable, innovative business ideas to roll out this smart metering in the country. There are roughly about 250 million consumers in this country, and this is a very large number. We thought in the beginning that we will be playing with the volume of the total numbers, and then maybe the way it has happened in the case of solar, the prices have come down, and now it is within reach and looks very attractive, and rather it is giving a challenge to all other fuel sources. So same type of thinking. We thought that when we go for procurement of large number of smart meters, then probably the cost of the smart meters will come down. But again, that has not also happened. I think this is a serious issue because we are in a stage of transition. The power sector is going to be very complex in the years to come, with the large penetration of renewable integrated sources of the order of 175 gigawatt. As per the assessment of CEA, by the year 2022, we shall be something like 520 gigawatts. And we will be meeting an energy requirement of 1566 billion units with a peak of 225 gigawatt. So that's a very huge number, though the thermal generation will predominantly prevail. But then the nuances of intermittency and infirmness of the renewable energy sources calls for a very smart solution and a smart handling of the grid. And therefore, there is a need that we must transform ourselves from the static meters to the smart metering solutions. That is the need of the hour. So otherwise, we will be really struggling to address the issues of grid operation. So there is a need, and we must sit together and think in terms of evolving good solutions, business solutions for roll out the smart meters. The smart meters are also being funded under various sources of funding by the Government of India. Under National Smart Grid Mission, we are funding projects for smart grid technologies, for smart solutions. Under Deen Dayal Upadhyay also, the funds are available for metering. Under IPDAS also, funds are available for metering. And likewise, you can have number of ways by which we can avail the facilities and bring down the cost of smart meter. That is the main concern I thought that I must share with you. The other thing is the poor status of metering in the country. The status of metering in the country is very, very poor actually. It is, as per the records which we collected, the data that we have in CA, roughly about 87% of the consumers are metered in this country. But then I really doubt these numbers. I do not know to what extent they are correct. Most of the meters may not be really functional, may not be reading correctly. And that is the reason that we have very high AT&C losses. Aggregate technical and commercial losses is the main problem of this country because that is resulting into high commercial losses. And because of the high commercial losses, the financial companies, the distribution companies are in red. Their financial health is very bad. And whenever we talk of any capital expenditure, then the issue comes that they are not financially well off, they cannot afford this kind of adoption of new technology, and that is the main issue. So we must address the issue of metering also. All meters, all consumers need to be metered, they need to be audited, there has to be a proper accounting of the energy flow so that we track every rupee that is flowing into the system. What is the energy which is sent to the system, it must be paid for by all. The tariff policy is very clear. If anybody, any government, or for that matter any political system, they want to subsidize anybody, that subsidy can come upfront and it can go to the distribution. In the case of any rules, if you need any kind of review or addition or alteration, please address that issue and you can write to CEA or the Government of India for that intervention. Thank you very much. Thank you.